Greetings, all. It's Dr. Bankhead here at the Struggle in Thinking Out Loud. And it occurred to me that I've been doing these videos for a while now, and I have yet to introduce myself. I have been designated as the emissary of divine, unconditional love and benevolence by the divine. That is the title that I hold. And my purpose in making these videos is to share my journey in the hopes that I will be able to help someone else who may be experiencing and facing similar difficulties and struggles as I did until I became victorious, moving from victimhood to victor. Yes, that's absolutely correct. And if I can do it, you can do it too. Having experienced many hardships, difficulties, trials, and tribulations throughout life, eventually I arrived at the point that I acknowledged to myself a desire to have a soft life. I was no longer willing to be a victim, although I recognized the unfairness I perceived. I resolved from that day on to expect my life to turn around. About that time, I learned about the law of attraction and Abraham Hicks. I even attended a few conferences. I followed the teachings. I discovered my personal seeming inability to access the law of attraction because I found reaching for a higher level thought or a higher level feeling was something beyond my imagination. And so I set about trying to determining, I set about determining what steps I could take to turn my personal situation around. Now, if you've listened to any of my previous videos, I shared from childhood through adulthood some of the challenges I faced. I was an only child, but my parents were victims of, well, not victims of, but they came from dysfunctional families. And some habits they had, as well as some thoughts and mindsets they had. And it didn't result in me feeling loved, me feeling desired, wanted, and mostly feeling abused. And I go into that in great depth in another video. But anyway, I had traumatic childhood. Then in school, teachers frowned upon my progression as a black person in a predominantly white school. In the workplace, I experienced some traditional discriminatory behavior that many people of color can relate to. Many can. There are a few that cannot. And so forth and so on. You know, personal relationships. I experienced a RAPE situation on a date. I experienced DV in the home with my ex-husband. So I've gone through quite a bit. I likened my marriage situation, which we wound up cohabitating, I would say, 3/4 of 1 year, uh, was such that it was so traumatic and tumultuous. I likened it to having experiences in that 3/4 of a year's time that some people go through 50 and 60 years and still haven't experienced. Yes. And so, having had those experiences and having survived, not just survived, but overcome and become victorious over these situations. And going through these situations, I experienced clinical anxiety, clinical depression, and PTSD. So I can relate to people who are all across the spectrum. And I wanted to share how it is that I've gone from being clinically depressed, clinically anxious, sometimes actually even suicidal. I had suicidal thoughts, and I did go to a counselor because I was actually experimenting. So, uh, I've gone there, I've been there, and I've overcome. I like the phoenix. I rise from the ashes each time, and I'm pleased to have had those experiences because they've caused me to grow. Have a great day. This is Dr. Mike Head at the Struggle Inn, thinking out loud, and I'll see you in the next video.